Hello and welcome to my channel. If you do not know, my name is Garrett. I am currently hiking the Pacific Crest Trail with my wife. We're about 500 miles into Tehachapi, California, clearly in a hotel room. We're on a 0 day. And in this video, I'm going to be giving you a 500-mile review of the Altra Timp 2.0. This is in no way an endorsement of Altra shoes. This is just my personal experience. You need to find what works best for you, and it might not be Altra, but clearly if you click this video or you found me on your search bar, then you're interested in the input. So I'll get into it. Just a quick history of my experience with Altras. I had the Lone Peak 3.5s and the Lone Peak 4s on the Appalachian Trail in 2018. So anytime I reference a Lone Peak, I'm talking specifically about those two models. I'm not talking about the 5 or the 4.5s. I haven't used those. So let's first, just an overview of the shoe. The Altra Timp 2.0 has a lot more cushioning than the Lone Peak. Ultras are a 0 drop, so that means that there is no lift in the heel. Usually most running shoes have some sort of a lift, so they sit kind of like that. With an Altra, they have no lift in them, so your midfoot and your heel strike at the same time. So this is relevant because a lot of people don't understand what that means, and they don't realize that you need to train in a 0 drop shoe before you start using it for months on end. We see people with foot injuries all the time on through hikes because they didn't get used to their shoes or use them properly before they started. So whenever you are trying out the Altras, I believe you can find some better resources than me just on how you should walk. So essentially, you're going to walk with your toes splayed out. That's why they have such a wide foot box. So your toes can naturally splay. That just means they spread out. And as you're walking, instead of a heel strike where you would do heel first and then roll your foot with something like a Nike Air Max or something like that, you're actually walking, you're changing your gait. So you're walking flat-footed. So it's a more natural gait, and it kind of changes the mechanics of how your body navigates as you're walking. So again, look on YouTube for how to walk in Altras, but please be aware before you try Altras that they are not your typical shoe, and they're designed to force you into a more natural walking gait or a more natural path of your foot movement with the whole body mechanics all the way up to your hip. So don't just take them out of the box and think, okay, Garrett told me that he liked the Altras, now I'm going to go on a through hike because that's what he did. Don't do that. Get used to them first, learn how to use them efficiently, and then try them out for yourself. If you like them, then go on the through hike. So let's get into the shoe. First, I'm going to talk about what I do like about the Timp 2.0, and that is the amount of cushioning and just the overall comfort of the toe box. Again, I had the Lone Peaks on the AT. I didn't experience any blisters with the Lone Peak. However, I have had a few blisters with the Timp, and I think that's because the Timps are not quite as wide as the Lone Peaks. Now, this is anecdotal. I did not check into what I'm about to say, so take it with a grain of salt. It is an anecdote from one of my friends on trail who was using the Lone Peak and switched to the Timp and did not fit in the Timp. The Timps were too tight on his foot. He wears a men's size 14 and had to go back to the Lone Peaks. So just be aware with that. Try them on in the store. So the cushioning, really good, and just the overall durability. I mean, 500 miles in the desert, the shoe is not just completely torn apart. There are some like obvious wear and tear points. Typical with Altras, the toe box, the toe cap always comes undone for me. I kick a lot of rocks. Just for contrast, here are my wife's shoes with the same amount of miles, and they look almost brand new, but they're not. Her tread is a lot more intact than mine is. So here is the tread on mine, and as you can see, it's worn down quite a bit more, and there on the heel as well. Really comfortable, really good ride. I actually bought 5 pairs of these before we started the PCT because they were on sale. Usually if you catch Altras at the end of their season before they're launching their next iteration of whatever the shoe is. You can find them for like $30 to $40 cheaper, so that's what I would recommend. It's a shoe. It didn't hurt my feet too much. Whenever you're walking 20 plus miles a day, you know, your feet are going to hurt naturally, so it's not so much the shoe. And honestly, some of the blistering could have been caused by the Darn Tough socks and not being able to wash them as frequently while in the desert, so they collect a lot more dirt and sweat. They get really crusty and gross, so it could have been a number of factors, but that's just my experience. But minor blisters, so we'll give it a good score on that. What I did not really like about the shoe is just kind of the mesh breaks down fairly quickly. Again, that's kind of to be expected. I don't hold it to fault for that, but I do wear gaiters, and gaiters can't save your foot from rocks and dirt if you have a hole in your shoe right here. The other thing is just the toe. I mean, they have this plastic, so it wasn't like rocks were getting inside of my foot, or my shoe rather, from here. So, you know, that was fine. Overall, I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10. I mean, I'm wearing them the whole time. And just for contrast, again, here is what the new pair of Ultras look like. So these are the new Timps, brand new pair. And as you can see, the tread is fully intact. And then again, for comparison, I'll hold up a used one. So here's the heel tread for the used one and the new one, the mid tread, and then the forefoot. So as you can see, the tread's a little bit more aggressive on the newer one. So the tread breakdown is not really that bad. I kind of personally feel like I could take these another 100 miles and be okay with it. Let's see, can you tell the difference? So yeah, so this one flattened out considerably, and this one still has its shape. Are they at the same level? Yeah. So there's a difference with that. I mean, these are just going to break in and change over time, but this is how much the shoe flattened out over 500 miles compared to a brand new one. I know the lighting's a little bad on that. Hopefully you can tell. One thing with the Timps compared to the Lone Peaks, I really like the tread on the Lone Peaks a lot more. It's a bit more aggressive. They feel a little bit more like an athletic cleat, and are a lot grippier and withstand for a little bit longer. They're called the Trail Claw, I believe. That's what they were on the 4.0s at least. So yeah, one thing with the Timp compared to the Lone Peak, again, the Lone Peak is going to be more minimal, so it's going to have less padding. If you want to go full padding, something like a Hoka One One, but you still want that zero drop, the Ultra Olympus is going to be their most padded trail runner. I tried those. I wasn't really a fan. My foot kind of moved around in them a lot more than I would have liked. So yeah, I mean, overall, they're good. Ultras have the little gaiter strap for your gaiters, catch them, and then they also have this little metal piece as well. So dirty girl gaiters fit them just fine. Again, this is just what worked for me. I just thought I'd show you how the shoe held up over these 500 miles. And overall, I think it did pretty well. So yeah, that's it. I hope that this was helpful, and enjoy.